Okay, here's another story. I asked this guy. So this is a New Rican who moved to Puerto Rico, and I asked him the question. I was like, "Wait a minute, why are you living in Puerto Rico when you can make more money in New York?" I said, "You're one of the few, because a lot of New Ricans, they come here and they're like, nah, my money's good. And he said that as a police officer here, he makes $3,000 a month, and he said in New York, you pretty much almost make about the same. And he said, but the cost of rent is more expensive, and he said you literally have to work like 2 jobs, to survive in New York. He said here in Puerto Rico, he makes about $3,000 a month as a police officer. He's got a apartment, 1-bedroom apartment in the living room, and he pays. He said it's big space. He pays $450 a month, waters and utilities, everything included. And I was like, "Damn, you got a pretty good deal." He's like, "Yeah." He said he got a good deal. And I said, "How did you hear about it?" Because there's this website called Classificados Online. You could actually find good deals on cheap rentals. But he said he got it from, he got that deal from a friend of his. And so I did ask him the question. I was like, okay, but what's the real story then? Why is it that these New Yorkers rather stay? And he said, you'll see a lot of them, like, I think in the Bronx or somewhere in, like, he said a lot of them are on welfare. A lot of Puerto Ricans are on welfare. They're collecting food stamps, and they're taking advantage of the system, and that's how they're making it over there in New York. So, and he said, I chose not to live like that, so I don't qualify, and that's why he said I decided to move here. And he said, then you got different, then you got the different seasons. You got the winter time, then you got to buy a heater, so things get expensive. So that was his perspective on things, which is interesting. But yeah, I've always wanted to know that. Why do some New Yorkers decide to stay, some decide to come back? That was his reason, I don't know if that's true. If you're a New Yorican, is that true? There's a lot of New Yorkers that decide to stay there because they're on welfare, Of course, not everyone, because I know, Puerto Ricans are smart. I met a lot of New Yorkers that are nurses that have come here and stuff, but all right, stay tuned for the next video.